Hello and welcome to Assignment 9 walkthrough. My name is Mildred. In this lesson, we are going to look at how to solve the Assignment 9 problems, and we are going to create an algorithm for solving this problem. Now, the question reads that you should create a web page different from what was done in class using the HTML5 layout elements, and your layout style should use the grid view layout. Now, this already gives you a lot of information for you to unpack. Now you want to create a web page and it needs HTML5 layout elements. If you are lost about what the elements are, you look at week 10 lesson 1 video and you'll see we have the layout elements. So let me just go ahead to try to create some of them. So I have here my assignment 9.html file and then the CSS file that we are going to use. Now, if you refer back to lesson 1 of week 10, we'll see that we have HTML elements called the nav. We use this as a container for navigation bar. We also have the section, we have the header, we have the article, we have summary, we have details. So refer back to lesson 1 of week 10 for you to use all of these elements. The first thing the question says we should do is that the navigation bar should be fixed at the top of the page with at least 3 links placed inline with a margin of 50 px between them. Now, if you go back to week 5 lessons, you are going to find this. Lesson 2 will give you information on how to use the float properties. Lesson 3 will give you how to use the position properties to fix the navigation bar at the top. So we are going to try this and then you are going to continue going further. Now, remember on your style sheet, you have to first of all use the style. You want to create a style for all of the elements, and what you want to do is to put the box sizing property and set the value to border box. We explained in lesson 1 of week 10 why we do this, so refer back to the lesson. And then you create your style for the row, and I want it to, and instead of me writing all of this, I'll go to my CSS file, let's say style.css, and I'm going to copy this so it makes it faster. So you want to have all of these styles, all of your columns, because it said you should use the grid view layout. I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. So what we are doing here is trying to use the grid view layout, and for the grid view layout that the question said we should use, it means that we must divide the page into 12 columns and using rows and columns. So make sure that your style sheet contains all of these styles to start with. And we want to try to put a nav. So you decide what your style will be. Do you want a logo? You want a header first, or you want the nav first? But the question said that the navigation bar should be fixed at the top of the page with at least 3 links. So let's do that. We have a navigation bar here, so I'll use nav. But because the second part of the question says we'll have another navigation link, which means that we might end up using this nav container twice, and we don't want to put a style for the navigation bar. We want to create a custom style. So I'll put this ahead of the creation of the style, and let's say top nav has a style, and I'm going to create the top nav style using the class selector on my style sheet. I want this nav to hold 3 navigation links. Let's put link 1. Now I'll close another list. When I save this and I open that page, I have the links here. So what I want to do now is to position these links at the top, and I want them to be inline. So I'll go to my style sheet. I'm going to create a style for the top nav. The first thing I want to put is the position property, and I want it to be fixed. I want it to be fixed where? I want it to be fixed at the top, which is going to put top at 0. I want it also the left to be 0, and I also want the right to be 0. What I also want with this is to put the background color, or let's say the height first, and let's say we want the height to be 100 pixels, and then I'm going to put a background color, and then I want to put text color. Let me put something I know. I'll make it black. So let's save this and refresh and see how it is. So we have it. We have the height for the top bar, and we have it fixed at the top. We want to now create a style for the list item A, and what we want it to do is to remove the text decoration is none. We want to change the display to be inline. We also want to put the margin between them to be 50 px. Save, refresh, and now this is where a lot of us are going to make the mistake. For the UL tag, we want to change the list style tag to none. The display of inline should only be for the list item tag because the anchor tag is already inline. So we're removing this text decoration and we're removing this margin. Save this, refresh the page, and we'll have the links inline. Now we're going to go to the anchor tag now, and we're going to set the text decoration style to none. We are going to put the margin now between them to be 50 pixels. We are going to save, refresh, and we're going to have it like this. So this is the part where you now see if you want to adjust the height, if you want to align to the right, you want to say, let's say I want this all floated to the right. So I'll say float right. Let it be at the end instead of just at one side of it. You can have it like this. When you float right, this is where you use the other properties we discussed, where you want the link 1 first or link 2. So this is where you have to go back to previous lessons because all the lessons that we have had are all connected. So if you want to watch a video in isolation, you'll begin to run into trouble when you start doing your assignments because nothing is in isolation when it comes to web building. So let's go back to the question. We have successfully answered this question. So what you will do next is to create styles for the different states. When it's link, visited, hover, active, you create your styles for it. Now, the page content area should be divided into 2. Now you realize that the styles we use here is going to be problematic when we start other parts of the page, the other content area. Now, if you want to stop having problems, you always want to reference it that all the UL tag that are in the top nav container should have this style. All the LI tag that are in the top nav container. So that way you don't conflict your styles and one style does not affect the styling of the rest of the page. Okay? And so when I refresh my page, this should keep the styles the same. So this is the way you put your style so that the style of one part of the page does not affect the style of the next part. So this is where you come back now. You're done with this top nav and it's telling you to continue creating the second part of the page. Now you can successfully use the section, and within this section the question is saying that you should have it divided into 2. You will have a side nav. So let's read the question again. The page content area should be divided in 2. Divided in 2, it tells us that the left side should occupy 3 columns and hold the side navigation links. So this just tells us that we are going to be using 3 columns, means we are going to be using col 3. And so you're going to put your class here is equal to col 3. The next should be the main content area. So you can decide to use article as your main content area, and it should occupy 9 columns, and you close article. So now you're done. You successfully completed the framework for your entire page. So now let's say we want to just put this as a reference for us to refresh our page to see how it is laid out. And then I'll put here, this is the main content area. And remember that the section is a row. All this style already exists on the style sheet for the row and the columns. So when I save this and I refresh my page, we begin to have that displayed here. So we don't have that here. Let's go back to see why. Now I'll tell you why this did not display. This has a height of 100 pixels, which means that whatever we have done is behind this, and we want it to start after the nav. That's why I use the height property here and set it to 100 pixels, so that when I come to my section now, I'm going to start the section to make sure the section style is positioned relative to the top nav, and the relative top is going to start from the end of the height. So we can either start from 100 pixels where the height of the nav ends. Okay, and so when I save this and I refresh, we'll see what we have on the page because it's no longer under this. So this takes 3 columns and this takes 9 columns. So this is where you begin to style the page, but I have created a framework for you, and the assignment should be easy to complete. Now, you mustn't use exactly the style I have used, but you have to continue to create the container to style the page, make it beautiful. So make sure you put all the other styles required, add extra styles if you must, make sure the page is responsive, and that is all.